Hey, Tim.
Hey, Andrew. First of all, I wanted to say I appreciate your ministries very much. I'm actually in a Baptist seminary right now, and I can honestly say I've learned more from your ministries than the courses I'm taking right now. So
Oh,
props
wow.
to you there.
Oh, thank
And
you.
my question is in regards to Romans 9. It's in regards to the hardening mentioned in Romans chapter 9,
Yeah.
verse 18. I think it's also mentioned in 11 verse in chapter 11 verses 7 and 25. So I'm just curious, is like God causing this, or is this just people rejecting it, and isn't it in regards to so the Gentiles could be grafted in? So I'm just curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's this sort of Calvinist idea that God has hardened individuals' hearts. And so he goes down the city street and he says, I'm going to harden your heart, but not yours. I'm going to harden your heart, but not yours. And so to heaven with you and to hell with you, literally, to heaven, hell, down the street he goes, and he pre-selects, he predetermines that certain people will go to heaven, and he enables them to choose him, or even causes them to choose him. And then the others he is actively hardening. And it's Romans 9 through 11, this section of scripture that they use to justify such a belief system. But what we really find is this, that, as far as Pharaoh's heart being hardened, we saw that Pharaoh made some choices. I mean, he made some choices to hate Israel, to despise Israel, to abuse Israel, and to say that they could go. You can go anytime, Moses, go for it. And as soon as they escaped Egypt, he turned on them, and he was really a dirty double crosser in that sense, and came after them. So, it was only after Pharaoh had made so many choices that God hardened his heart, so to speak. And that's not, we don't need to dance around that or try to explain that away. I mean, that's exactly what it says, is that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. We see a similar idea in Romans chapter 1, that God gave them over. But see, it names all these things that they did first. You see at the beginning of Romans that humanity was engaged in all kinds of heinous and shockingly evil acts. They were exchanging the natural for the unnatural. They were not acknowledging God. So God gave them over. So there's a reason. In other words, if you want that, I throw up my hands. I'm not going to force you into anything. I give you over. And if that is the outcome you want in your life, then so be it. Well, likewise, we see here this idea of God hardening Pharaoh's heart, and it's likened to, I will have mercy on whomever I want. I'll have mercy on whomever I want. I'll show compassion to whomever I want. For the scripture says to Pharaoh, for this very reason I raised you up, in order to demonstrate my power in you, that my name might be proclaimed throughout the earth. So then he has mercy on whom he desires, and he hardens whom he desires. And you say, uh-oh, does that mean then that he's hardening my next door neighbor but not me, so I can become a Christian? He softened me, but he's hardening them. And so is this on an individual basis? And the short answer is no. As we keep reading, we get a really good idea of what Paul is talking about. He's not talking about individual selection, and he's not talking about individual hardening. He's not talking about individual predestination of certain people. No. He is talking about Jews and Gentiles, and he says that there was a partial hardening of Israel. And so you say, well, what's all that about? Well, we could take some guesses as to what that partial hardening was, but it says until the fullness of the Gentiles came in. So, question number one, who was hardened? And the answer is the nation of Israel, not your next door neighbor, the nation of Israel. How long did it last? Question number two, how long did it last? It was partial, a partial hardening. When did it end? Question number three, when was it over? Well, when the fullness of the Gentiles came in. Has that happened? Yes, the gospel has extended to the ends of the earth, and When the Son of Man is lifted up, he draws all unto himself. The gospel is now a beautiful invitation to anyone and everyone. Whosoever calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. So I guess what I'm saying is the interpretation of this hardening is simple because Paul interprets it for us. There's no mention of individual selection here. It's all couched in a beautiful passage about Jews and Gentiles. So if every time we think about the issue of predestination, if every time we saw that issue come up, we thought in terms of people groups instead of individuals, then it would make a whole lot more sense to us. And that's why, I mean, verse 30 of Romans 9 makes it as clear as day. What shall we say then? Okay, so he's going to tell us the whole point. What shall we say then? That Gentiles who did not pursue righteousness attained righteousness. Now, here we go. However, Israel, pursuing a law of righteousness, did not arrive at that law. So you say, why might God have given them a partial hardening? Because they were just absolutely obsessed with righteousness by law. And quite frankly, that'll harden anybody. Without God, that'll harden anybody. I mean, have you not noticed that there is a hardness to those who are self-righteous, who are law-based in their living? They think they're right by what they do for God. Well, there's a hardness to their hearts in that regard. And so, I think we have to say the hardening was for Israel, the hardening was partial, the hardening was until the Gentiles came in, and the hardening was most likely, because of what Paul describes here, they were chasing after righteousness according to the law. And so there you have it. So Tim, I want to put you back on and see, does that help some, my friend? Does that make sense?
Yes, very much. I'll definitely be listening to that over again. And again, you're just doing a great job. I'll learn more on that, like however long you spoke, than a whole class in seminary.
Well, thank you, Tim. I really appreciate your encouragement, and we love to hear from you. So call us back anytime, my friend.